ladies and gentlemen. So my name is Philippe Malbranche, heading INES, Institut National de l'Énergie Solaire. It's a French National Research Institute in solar energy. We are living very interesting times now with PV. I will make a very short introduction with the context. Due to the cost decrease of PV now, and especially I saw this last week during the COP21 in Paris, next year COP22 here in Marrakesh, nobody is now contesting the fact that PV is one of the cheapest energy sources now in many countries. It has been written in the IEA roadmap published 1 year ago now. They were talking about 4 terawatts, 4,000 gigawatts by the year 2050. I have also to mention last week the announcement of, the Terawatt Initiative, which means 1,000 gigawatt, announced by a Prime Minister from India. It's Indian. It was announced by the Prime Minister from India and the French President Hollande about this 1 terawatt initiatives supported by many private countries. So I have also to say that IEA has been so far very pessimistic, always expecting less than what has been achieved really on the field so far. So we have very interesting years in front of us. PV will still increase very much. And it has also been said in the IRENA publication last year, this year. The Agora and Fraunhofer study show that after PV now has achieved a price in the range of 5 to 6 cents per kilowatt hour, it will be everywhere below 5, and the range for the year 2050 will be in the range of 2 to 4 cents per kilowatt hour everywhere in the world. And even the Deutsche Bank is claiming that now it's time to invest there. So I'm coming from CEA INES. A few slides just to present quickly what we are doing. We are part of a big research organization previously completely involved in nuclear, but 25 years ago they started some research on non-nuclear energy, on technological research, on microelectronics, big data, software, and new technology for energy. And that was the LITEN Institute in which we are working now. In this LITEN Institute, it's completely dedicated to new technology for energy. We are addressing organic electronics, nanomaterial, biomass, hydrogen, electric transportation, and solar technology. And INES gather these topics. Here we are working 1,000 people with a budget of 150 million euros. These are our facility. We have been setting up all this over the last decade. We will celebrate next year our 10 years anniversary, our birthday. We have been building 8 buildings and this outdoor test facility. And so far, it gathers 360 researchers. The equipment which has been installed represents an investment of 120 million euros. And it's also a 25,000 square meter test facility, labs and test facilities. These test facilities, these are our way of business, I would say. Excuse me. We are addressing PV silicon, PV solar cells, PV module, organic PV also, solar thermal systems. I will not talk too much on this today. Energy efficient building or positive energy building, storage systems, both thermal and electrical storage system, and solar mobility. So that's everything that we are covering, and this is our outdoor test facility from another point of view. We have also 20 more people dedicated to training, and we are already delivering some training activities here in Morocco through the IFMEDE, Institut de Formation aux Énergies Renouvelables. And now I will start more precisely my talk about our recent advances, and I will focus on silicon technologies. So to start with, this is the value chain on PV, I would say, starting from material to the applications. And I will first focus on upstream of the value chain with the material, the solar cell, and the PV module. And I will show you, I'm going to show you some of our advances and research work ongoing on these topics. So when you start with the feedstock, you have to purify it. If it's not if it doesn't meet your own criteria, crystallize it, to wafer it. So we have all this facility, and we are always testing what we are achieving at the laboratory scale. We are always trying to validate it at the industrial scale. So we are always delivering R&D results which have been validated with the use of industrial equipment. You know that multicrystalline silicon is cheap, but is not so efficient. Single crystal Czochralski wafer are highly efficient, are more efficient, but they are also more expensive. And we have been trying over the last 4 or 5 years to develop what we call the mono-like, gathering the advantages of both worlds, of both paths, trying to get at the same time a cheap product and a high efficient product. And this was developed with the ECM Greentech company. And we have been working on all the steps of the process, melting and crystallization. And all this innovation is dealing with the implementation of seeds at the bottom of the crucible. And we have been developing patent on that. And you see, once you grow the silicon, you still see the shape of all the seed on the front surface of the ingot. So 25 centimeters later, I would say, or higher, you still see all the square from the previous, from the seeds that you had at the bottom. For this, we have been working quite a lot. We started on a small size ingot in 2010. Then we reached what we call generation number 2 with 60 kilogram ingot. And then last year, we reached generation 5, and we worked quite a lot on the quality improvement of the material, impurity content, oxygen content, etc. What is important is to look at the seed preparation. You can start with small seed from 8 inches Czochralski ingots, or this large, this 16 inches Czochralski ingot to get in that. For big crucibles, you need only 8 seeds instead of 25 small seeds. Or, that's another way that we are going to develop, is to use a slice of the previous ingot. And last year we reached generation 5, and this year we have achieved what we call generation 6. So you have 6 bricks here that you can see. 6 times 6, you get 36 bricks, not instantaneously, but after 36 hours, you have grown directly your bricks, single crystal, and ready to make solar cells. And we are ready to go on with generation number 7 or 8. It will be still bigger furnaces and bigger blocks of silicon to increase, always increase the capacity of the equipment. This is the result, and here you may see, it's not so much visible, but you see you still see the orientation of each of the initial seeds which were put at the bottom. We also work on getting the wafer, but I will not detail too much. Here we work on the optimization of the diamond shape, which are covering the wire, the diamond wire. And the key issue is to decrease the size, the diameter of the wire, and to optimize the implementation of the diamond, and especially the shape of the diamond and the way to fix them on the wire. At the cell level, what are the advances? Here is a quick description of our facility, of our labs. We are most of the equipment to cover all the processing steps for characterization, etc., diffusion, oxidation, PECVD. We are able to have some laser processing and so on. So this is our clean room for lab development. And here is our pilot line. It's in another building in which we have a huge pilot line, 80 meters long, to really check all the R&D advances at the pilot line level with a capacity of 1,100 wafers an hour. And on this line, we have all these processing steps. First, the wafer inspection. Second, in some wet benches, cleaning and texturization of the surface. Then the IC, amorphous silicon and TCO deposition, and then the screen printing. So what are we achieving with all these facilities? For, I would say, conventional solar cells, we have the conventional process, aluminum BSF, or the PERC, in which we reach usually 19 to 20%. It's really the baseline process that we use to compare various types of material, various types of solar cells. With the PERC process, which gives bifacial cell, so far we reached 20.3%, trying to go towards this year towards 21%. And we work also on the IBC, inter-back contact heterojunction solar cells, which now we can achieve 20%, but you know that some research have been done by Panasonic and Sharp, and we can reach 25% with this process. But we are focusing on how to do the industrialization of this process. For the heterojunction, that's our key issue that we are developing. So these are all the process. I'm not going to detail everything. Once again, the cleaning, the PECVD deposition of amorphous silicon, the PVD for the TCO, the ITO on the front and the back, and then the screen printing. We are aiming at 24% at the research level. Now, when we go through our pilot line, our industrial pilot line, so far we are above 21% with the bus bar, and if we use burr-bassless cell using the smart wire technology afterwards, we are above 22%. That's the average in production for within our pilot line. At what are the best results we got so far? It's 22.2% on the conventional process, and 22.8 without any silver. Replacing the silver with cover plating, we can reach 22.8%. Cell is not enough. You need to have some module to protect them. And here, again, we have a full building dedicated to the module design and manufacturing. We have also specific equipment for the cell interconnection. I would say classical, conventional soldering, but also gluing, and all the testing equipment and characterization equipment. This, of course, we are not producing conventional PV module. We are always trying to develop new functionalities or new product, so we can deliver any type of small module with 1 cell, with 4 cells, or of course with 60 cells. But we are mainly using this facility to develop any type of PV module, and it goes from lightweight module, flexible module, bifacial module, using specific material, trying to, for instance, to replace glass with other polymeric materials. We have some basic activity, like understanding all the degradation mechanism. So this is covering all the activity we are having on PV module. And these are some examples of what we are delivering. A very lightweight module with polymer injection. We are, in fact, I forgot to say that we are really working hard on decreasing the time for the encapsulation. You know, conventional process, you require 15 to 20 minutes for encapsulating a PV module, and we're really aiming at decreasing this time to less than 1 minute with some specific material, of course. We are looking at the integration in PV tile, in PV prefabricated concrete component for cladding of material. As an ultra lightweight module, we have reached 2.2, almost 2 kilogram per square meter with a specific material. It could be very useful to refurbish all building without having to change or to refurbish the structure. So these are some examples of what we are doing, and of course, the one using heterojunction solar cells, which are bifacial glass-glass module, which give this result. What is interesting using the heterojunction solar cells is you get a lower temperature coefficient, which means at the same peak power, higher energy output in high temperature region, which may be interesting, for instance, here. This is what we are looking at. With bifacial PV module, you see that what is at the bottom, at the back of the PV module is important. Whether it is black or white, you get a different albedo. So usually we can find 15 to 25 gain, more energy output. Of course, it's depending on the way everything is installed. And you can also think of new way, new design of PV installation. You can even put them vertical, north-south, and then instead of the usual shape, you get this shape, like it's almost like a camel instead of a dromedary. And you get, at the end of the day, almost the same amount of energy, not the same shape of production, of course, but sometimes less, but sometimes more. And we have performed this study in which, especially in this region, with module installed vertical, north-south, so being illuminated mainly in the morning, mainly in the evening, it could be interesting also from the dust point of view. So it could be interesting. So you see all this improvement, they are all looking at decreasing the VLCOE, which is the most important figure. And of course, there are a lot of existing lines going with the being refurbished to go from aluminum BSF process to the PERC process. But we think that all these advances, which are just on the market now, with monolike silicon, with the heterojunction solar cells, and with the bifacial module, it's really another way to push forward to decrease again the cost of PV electricity. If I have a few minutes, it's, how many? 5 minutes, so okay. It's important to decrease the cost of electricity. It's what I have shown so far. But it's also important to increase the value of electricity. If you produce it at a time where, like in Germany, on Sunday, during the weekend, you have a peak power supply of renewable energy, your value is really decreasing. So you have to find ways to use it in the best way. So that's my quick and second focus on how to use PV electricity. And first thing I would like to mention, it's now important to be able to model what is going to be your production, taking into account that the value of electricity is not the same depending on the time. Is it going to provide electricity during peak hours or during off-peak hours? So the value of electricity is changing every minute, every hour, every second. And you have to do some modeling. So it's not like, I'm not talking about a PVsyst, which just give you a monthly output or a yearly output. I mean, what will be the output, of course, but the value of it at any time. And at any time, you have to take the decision, is it better to consume it now, to use it later, to store it, to discharge the storage system? And this, you can decide to do it anytime. So anytime you need to decide what is going to be your strategy for managing the electricity for the next 15 minutes, for the next hour, and what are you planning for the next hours. So we have been developing this module, and of course it can be applied to solar mobility, to PV storage, to grid-connected PV in small grids or in building, in which you can always manage your energy demand. We will see this application a little bit later. For instance, what is important to increase the value, but also to decrease the cost, the operating cost of PV plants, is to simplify the troubleshooting. Okay, 3 minutes. For storage system, it's important to select the right technology. We have been comparing many storage technology, And of course, they are not all behaving the same. Regarding the initial characteristic, regarding the cycling capacity, the calendar aging, you see big difference. These are all lithium-ion battery, but with different chemistry inside. And it's important to know what we are aiming at. And if we are doing all this, is to have at any time a very accurate idea of what is the state of charge, the state of health, and what should be the best managing strategy. So in order to use electricity in your PV system, it's important to know at any time if it's going to cost you, to store electricity and then to discharge a storage system. Will it cost you more, or will you gain more by doing this? At any time, you have to balance to make your decision, whether it is better to sell the electricity, to use it now, or to store, to use your battery. But then you will have a higher value for electricity later. So you have to know a lot about your storage system. Last application, and very interesting application, is the transportation. So I mean electric vehicle being recharged with PV. And what is important is that 1 square meter, one single square meter, it gives you enough power to drive 1,000 kilometers a year, which means that a parking lot of 15 square meters, 3 by 4, 3 by 5, or 3 by 6, it gives you 15 to 18,000 kilometers a year, which is the average use of any car. And these are figures from Chambéry, France. Here in Morocco, or especially in Marrakesh, it will be between 1,500 kilometers a year per square meter. So this is much more efficient than any biofuel plus conventional car. It's much more efficient. To do it, we have done this managing strategy. Without managing strategy, when you have 10 cars arriving in the morning, you have a big peak of demand on your network, and it's not so good. But if you manage it well, you can do this. How? So you have all the cars arriving in the morning which want to be recharged. So you have a use of solar only for a day in only 20 or 25% of your energy is coming from solar, because solar, the peak of solar is at noon. If you can anticipate and delay the battery recharge, you can reach this solar fraction. We do it like that. You see all the recharge, station 1, station 2, and you will decide, this car has to be available at noon or at 1 p.m., so it will be recharged first. But this one is not going to be used before 16, so it will be recharged last. And you can manage your demand like that. You can have many strategies. So the one to increase the solar fraction, you will do this. You can minimize the max power supplied by the grid, and you will manage it like that. And you can manage it anyway, depending if you have different tariff on your grid, you manage it in a different way. That's a way of managing electricity. I will skip this last one. So I wanted to conclude on that. We have seen still many ways to decrease cost and increase performance of PV cell, module, and system. I've also been showing way we are addressing in our labs, in our facility, to increase the value of PV. I've shown example in the transportation sector, but this integration can also be done in the grid, in building, to have very efficient energy building, and through which you really increase the use of solar energy much above this usual 20 or 25%. And with that, I thank you for your attention. And I'm ready to answer your question.